Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the modem is in the garage. Go out to the garage. And
all right, I'm right next to the modem now. It's going to be more echoey, but hopefully it'll sound better.
Okay, no, it sounds great.
Okay.
Now, and going back to Above Majestic, the ability for this film to line up these different personalities there, and then have the terminology whistleblower tied to it in this documentary. We are used to whistleblowers out there, and what it actually means. Is whistleblower used correctly with like Bill Tompkins and others that are in Above Majestic?
That's a good question. The term whistleblower, to me, at its core, is a term that is about somebody who is exposing wrongdoing in an organization. Similar to like people blowing the whistle on 3 Mile Island, or where there's not proper handling standards for nuclear waste, something like that. So, yeah, in the case of something like what we've got here with Above Majestic, they could be called whistleblowers because the real core of the film is the withholding of this advanced technology that could totally heal our society. And what does it mean? Even if you don't believe this stuff, even if you're not responsive to this idea of a secret space program or whatever, everybody perks up when they hear about suppressed technology. And we know, for example, on the Federation of American Scientists website, FAS.org, they've had a list that they've compiled for years now where they've shown over 5,000 different patents that have been suppressed for reasons of national security. And then you find out that it would include anything that is better than 30% at converting energy, which means even really good solar panels will never be allowed to be given to the public because they work too well. And that's when people start to get pissed off, because the fact that we have this scarcity of energy, it's a big part of what our economy is based on. It's killing the planet, and it's causing incredible suffering, and it's causing a lot of starvation, a lot of hunger, a lot of disease, famine, pestilence, all avoidable. We could support a lot more people on this planet than we have now. Overpopulation to a large degree is solvable because when you allow people to develop, their birth rate goes down. The reason why you have people having 7 or 10 kids in these developing countries is that several of those kids might die, and the parents want to be taken care of as they get older. So when you get into a culture in which people's needs are taken care of, the birth rate goes way down. And so this whole idea of the population bomb, to me, that's a deep state thing they came up with. But this forbidden technology can eliminate all the problems we have on Earth. Nuclear pollution, deforestation, desertification. We can desalinate ocean water. We can create energy. We can heal all the diseases that we have with energetic technology. We don't need any medicine. We can print food basically out of the background of space and time itself. We can just basically make the things that we need. And if we could automate goods and services and the production of those things, then everybody becomes freed up now to do much more creative pursuits. And that's what a much more ideal and futuristic society would be like. We all have the opportunity to do what we want to do instead of having a means to an end where we have to do something in order to pay our bills. That's what really gets people the most excited about this content, in my opinion.
Would you call yourself a whistleblower?
Absolutely. When I hear certain things that people tell me would get me killed if I was to share them publicly, and then I go and put that information out anyway in light of that risk, that's a major, major gamble. That shows that I'm willing to take everything and put it on the line, And I can't tell you how many times I've had death threats from insiders and people, telling me, if you put this on the internet, you'll get the knock on the door tomorrow morning. And the first few times this happened, I got really scared and really freaked out. And over the years, I've learned that, there are spiritual laws in the universe, and as long as I do my part to be as ethical, moral, and upstanding as I can be, to try to not make any mistakes, to try to not betray anyone or hurt anyone, I won't be harmed. And the deep state people know that, because this is ultimately a spiritual war, and it drives them crazy. It drives them crazy that I understand the rules, which is they can't just knock somebody off randomly. You have to authorize it, and that means that you have to become corrupted enough that your karma has invited your death. And I'm just never going to authorize them to be able to do that much. I have certainly stepped in it more than once. We all run the risk of having too much pride in our own accomplishments. It's not easy to talk about yourself when you do have accomplishments in a way that people aren't going to interpret as having a lack of humility. We all do kind of have to let people know what we're up to, and there's constantly new people coming in, and so anybody in my field, myself included, the two main things they always attack you for is ego and money. Oh, your ego is too big, and oh my God, you're making money, and a lot of that, I say, goes back to the subconscious Judeo-Christian bias that people have been programmed to think that if you're going to deal with spirituality, which the UFO field crosses over into, then in spirituality, you have to be totally humble and self-effacing. You can't have any type of real confidence or forthrightness in your personality, and you have to be totally destitute, monastic. You have your bed, you have your begging bowl, and you have your prayer robe, and that's it.
Have you been humbled?
Yeah, humbled by the world. And it's like, look, the cabal, the deep state, they're very not humble. And the only way we're going to change mass consciousness is to play on their playing field, because they control much of the world in terms of what we have to do, how we have to do it. You can't defeat the cabal if you never drive a car and you're going to go around on bicycles, or you're going to try to use only electric vehicles. You're not going to be able to defeat the cabal if you're like the Amish and you refuse to take a plane and you're only going to ride on a train. You're not going to defeat the cabal if you say that you'll never, ever go into corporate television, or you'll never do a movie. Wait a minute. Not all Hollywood is evil. Not all Hollywood is Luciferian. Not all television is Luciferian. There's always cracks in there. There's lots of ways to get this message out. We actually had somebody attack me for having a 501c3 corporation, but it's like, look, I'm living in a world in which the work that I'm doing is of a spiritual nature, and if somebody wants to donate to that, now they have a way to where they don't have to pay taxes. That's all it is. If somebody wants to say 501s are evil, it's like, show me a better option, So we don't need to get all entangled in this world of backbiting and fighting each other and trying to drag each other down. If somebody's out there and they have a good message and they're succeeding and they start making money and they start getting a big following, let's cheer them on and give them a platform, because they're helping us. If somebody's brave enough and willing enough to put their lives on the line, they're a hero, and they deserve our respect.
This last year has seen pretty great strides in the world of disclosure, and it's not only the UFO part. Disclosure is a big word, and it means so much to so many. But we have seen this, and that crack in the door that you're talking about seems to be opening. What do you think ultimately is going to happen? 2018 now is coming to a close. We expected much more to happen this year, but then again, when you look back, so much has happened. What do you think is going to happen when it comes to disclosure in the UFO question in the days and months ahead?
Well, it's pretty wild because we talk about this a lot in Above Majestic. We go through the evidence about the secret space program, the fact that QAnon on September 19th acknowledged that the secret space program really exists. They said programs exist outside of public domain in answer to a question where the person said, are there secret space programs and have we been back to the moon? And then the other question they answered was when somebody asked about Roswell and the person asked, are we alone? The answer was no. And then they said, this is the highest level of classification, the highest level of secrecy. And then they said, consider the vastness of space. So then we combine that with the fact that right now on the White House lawn, they have this Orion space capsule that literally looks like a flying saucer on the White House lawn. And we have the president making announcements about a space force. And we just saw an article come out today in which they're saying, yeah, the Navy is going to have a major degree of involvement in the new Space Force. What the heck do you mean by Space Force? You know, we've only ever had a handful of astronauts. So how do you put a force up in space? Is that soldiers? And what are they going to be flying in, you know? And so I think there is going to be a big mega event. You know, I think there is going to be the unsealing of these now over 60,000 indictments. That's very, very real. The Alliance is working overtime to get to the point that they can unseal those indictments. And as I've been saying to people, you know, you can have up to 93 defendants in one sealed indictment. And I saw a lot of them when I did the research that were for organized drug rings in which you had 30 or 40 people in one sealed indictment. So this doesn't mean 60,000 people are going to be arrested. It could be potentially a middle to high six-figure number. And that will be the most outrageous sea change in geopolitical order that we've ever seen. There will never have been an event like this before. In many ways, it will dwarf 9/11 in its level of significance, its level of scope. And it seems pretty likely that they're going to do this. We've been getting briefings about it for many years. It's driving people crazy how long it's taking. Q has finally started speaking again as of November 1st. It took a while to know if that was really them, but it is. And so I do believe we're going to see this happen. I don't know whether it's going to be before the end of the year or, you know, they're really trying to clean up the FBI and the Department of Justice before they move forward. They feel like they have to. They have to get Alliance people in to the varying levels of society that would be necessary for these indictments to be properly pursued. But it sure looks like they're getting pretty close. There's been a whole bunch of people that have resigned, a whole bunch of people that have been fired, a whole lot of deals that have been struck behind the scenes to pave the way for this. And it's very, very exciting. So I am still firmly a believer in some kind of actual official disclosure that's going to happen. And no other movie has ever really set the stage for this. There's never been a Hollywood studio film. And, you know, Orchard is a small studio. They're certainly nothing like the majors, but they definitely get the distribution. They get the word out, and it's amazing that we hit #1 on the 2 top streaming platforms for movies. That really is getting the Q message around. That's getting the secret space program